Hey, it's Grady at Twin Creek Audio, back in the studio today to share another mixing video with you. Today I'm going to be mixing the song Those Lovely Days from the new Homespun Centaurs album Threeve. Now the album will be out here in another month or so, but today I'm going to attempt the final mix of the song here in this video so you can check out what I'm doing. Heath and I actually did a live performance, or a remote live performance video, I should say, of this song back in spring of 2020, and that's here on the channel. So if you'd like to check that out, I'll try to remember to include a link in the description or at the end of the video to that version of this song. So now I suppose I should go over to the mixing console and get started on this mix. So I'm at the console with Those Lovely Days. I've got my usual kind of configuration. I have a specific way that I like to line things out. And, a lot of people do this, but I do it so that I always kind of know in general where things are. I'll start out with drums, then bass, and then usually guitars or piano, whatever the main instrument is next. Then solos, fills, extra stuff, and then vocals on the higher channels. That's just the way that I've always done it, because in my mind it's easier for me to get to things because I always line things up the same exact way. Whether it's here on the analog console or in the box and Reaper, I'm going to do that. I'm going to line up my kick, snare, toms, overheads, room mics if there are any, bass guitar, then whatever the main instrument is, the piano, the guitar, those kinds of things, and then I'll have more lead instruments and feature instruments and vocals on the higher channels. It just keeps everything straight in my brain. So that's what I've done today, as I've got drums here, kick, snare, toms, overhead, room mic, bass guitar. This is piano, which is like a grand piano sound. I believe Heath used the Williams Legato piano for this, which is actually a really good sounding keyboard. And then a couple of guitars, an electric guitar, and then a kind of jazzy guitar solo. This is a really jazzy guitar track, so I'm trying to keep it natural, but I also want it to sound powerful and professional and modern in a way. So I'm not going to overdo it, but I am using some compression on some things. The vocals are down here on these faders. I actually have a stereo lead vocal track because Heath was using something called the TAL Reverb in the box. And so I've got that TAL Reverb in the box on these lead vocals, and that is a stereo reverb. So I have two channels here for the lead vocal with that TAL Reverb 3 plug-in on them. So that's here. These I have running through the ART TCS twin compressor system. So since it's two channels, I have that compressor stereo linked, and I have that ART TCS twin compressor system set to the OPL, I think it's OPL3? No, it's the V3 voicing settings on that twin compressor system. I have it on the vocal preset, which is an optical compressor with a VCA compressor after it to catch the peaks. So I have that here on these lead vocals, which again is a stereo pair with reverb from a plugin in the box. I also have four more channels of background vocals. They also have the same reverb plugin on them, and they're also pairs because they're stereo. These two faders here are the parallel compression. These two channels have been turned into subgroups on the console because the Soundcraft Sapphyre has floating subgroups. So I press these sub switches here at the top of these channels. That turns these two channels into subgroups 1 and 2. So I have the ART dual limiter across the inserts of these two channels, which these two channels are now subgroups, and this is subgroups 1 and 2. So I have the ART dual limiter on the inserts of subgroups 1 and 2. Down here on this end of the console, and I have shown this before in several videos, but I'm doing parallel compression with just the toms. On this console, I can press these XFX buttons here, and that turns these channels, which are the small faders here. These are actually the main channels you would be using for microphones if you're recording to tape or to an interface through the console. But in this configuration, they become sends, and I have these assigned to subgroup 1 and 2. Unlike these regular aux sends on the console, these sends can be sent to subgroups. So I can do things like parallel compression, and it's basically in stereo. So I have my stereo toms, which were 3 toms, but in the box it's sent out to these 2 channels as a stereo pair of toms. Then I have these XFX buttons pressed down so that I can send just those toms over to these subgroups where I have the ART dual limiter patched. Then, of course, again, I have these subgroups gated with the built-in gates on the console. So whenever this send level here to these subgroups gets loud enough, it opens these gates. And then you get that compressed tom sound coming through, and this is the amount of it that you add to the mix down here. So these gates are doing the job, so I don't have to turn these on or off or do anything in the box fancy with any kind of drawing envelopes or anything. I can just use these gates. And then the dry tom sound before they hit the parallel compression here, those are going to the stereo bus as usual, and I don't have these gated. I could have done that, but I kind of like a little bit of extra drum ambience from the tom mics to be there, but I definitely couldn't get those loud enough and have those tom fills come out as well as when I use the parallel compression setup that I'm using. So this is just the instruments without the vocals, and listen for the tom fills and the parallel compression. You watch these lights on the gates. So that's kind of the special thing I'm doing there with the drums, is that parallel compression on the toms, which I've done in several videos, but it just works really well. I don't want to really compress sounds, so I'm not compressing them really hard. You'll see when I print the mix, I always do the rack video, so you'll see exactly how hard that ART dual limiter is working during the mix, which is not very. The bass guitar, as usual, I'm using the Urei LA-10 compressor on this bass guitar, which sounds fantastic. And again, you'll see the action of this compressor on the bass. And again, I'm not really compressing that much. I'm not going for an over compressed in your face kind of sound for this, since it's a jazzy vocal track. It's not really, hard rock or anything like that. The piano is here, and really there's a little bit of EQ on the piano, bringing in some highs, taking out some lows, just kind of doing that by ear on the piano. And I'm also using a ReaComp from Reaper. So this is being compressed a little bit in the box before it comes out here to the console. And I did that because it's just a really percussive piano part in places. So it needed a little bit of compression to get it to sit in the mix just right. But otherwise, ReaComp is a pretty natural sounding compressor, which is why I used it, because I don't want a lot of color. I want it to sound natural and sound good, but I don't need too much spikiness where it's popping out of the mix when it doesn't need to be, even though it is the main instrument. So I didn't compress it too much, just a little bit of ReaComp on there because it's nice and smooth and very clean. We've got an electric rhythm guitar track, and then the lead guitar solo, kind of a jazzy guitar solo. It's a clean guitar sound with a slight bit of slapback delay, but it was tracked that way, so there's not really much to talk about on that. I'm doing this video a little bit differently than usual, maybe a little bit more out of order than usual, but I'm just trying to keep things interesting here. So what I'm going to do now is play the song from the beginning, and I'm going to solo the vocal track so you can hear the vocals and the reverb by themselves a little bit.
And we used to run through the summer haze in those younger days when it all was brand new. Those lovely days.
So So the vocals have that TAL reverb, TAL. I don't know. I'll show you a screenshot of that if I didn't already when I was talking about it a second ago. But that's just a crazy, long, really dense, almost like white noise kind of reverb. It's really cool in a way. I mean, Heath really loves that thing, and it's got this just tremendously long reverb, so it's kind of crazy, but it sounds cool on this song. It's just a contrast with the more conventional kind of mellow jazzy music. Let's hear the background vocals that have even more of the TAL III Reverb. Well, see, the reverb's still going. It's really cool though. All that reverb continuing in the background the whole time adds some kind of color to the mix because it's sitting there with all the other sounds in the mix and it's still going behind everything and making those vocals seem like they spread out forever. So it's kind of unusual and unique, and it's something that's different about this song and different about this mix than most things, I would think. So I would play the piano for you, but you're going to hear the piano by itself at the beginning of the song anyway. So I think I'm just going to go ahead and print this mix and see what we get.
And when I think of those younger days, catching summer rays under skies of blue, oh, those lovely days I spent with you. And we used to run through the summer haze in those younger days when it all was brand new. Oh, those lovely things have changed in so many ways. So many things we thought we could. Oh, those lovely days I spent with you.
I hope that works for the record. I'm tired. No, I'm not tired. I'm having fun. That sounded good. I think that's going to work. I'm really excited about the new Homespun Centaurs album. It's been a lot of fun working on that in the studio with Heath lately, and I hope all of you enjoyed the mixing video today of those lovely days from the new album. Hope you'll check out the other videos from the Homespun Centaurs album, which is the last couple of videos here on the channel. And make sure to check out the album when it comes out as well. I truly appreciate all the new subscribers here on the channel. Thanks everyone out there for watching. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the Twin Creek Audio YouTube channel, as well as clicking the notification bell for updates on future uploads here on this channel. I hope that each and every one of you out there has an excellent and wonderful day, night, evening, weekend, weekday, hour, minute, second, nanosecond, whatever it is you're having. Have a good one, and thanks so much for watching.
And when I think of those younger days, catching summer rain